mentioned when we talked before in email land that there were so many people that you worked with that it's you know, I mean, you're in a way, I always think of you as a beacon of this community, but there's so many others that you were talking about that
Absolutely.
that you enjoyed working with. You know.
Yeah, let me jump in. You know,
Yes.
there's some names that people may not be familiar with. There's Are these just pictures, or did you pull these people up?
Well, I
Because I've seen you in action before, David.
have.
Hello
Oh my God,
there.
there's trouble now.
uh, well,
Hi, and Anita. Oh my God. I sent her an email earlier today saying your ears are going to be burning today because I know that I'll be talking about you.
I saw
Here
that
you
on
are.
Facebook.
I loved that. It was like, oh, now what should I say?
Too
So
much.
excited to see
Too
you.
much.
Hola, mi hermano. How are you?
Hola, hola. Consuelo is my sister from another mister, and I'm her brother from another mother. Together we're trouble, and we bless each other's lives. And Anita, what can
Good
I say
trouble.
about Anita? It's, you know, when you talk about people whose shoulders you stand on and who you are blessed to work with, to share this planet with, to at least move the ball a little bit forward. So hopefully other people will take it on. Anita is right there. You know, before her, I worked with Maria Hansen in New York, and then Katie Lunn, and then Anita. And there's so many other people, from Robert David Hall to Kurt Yeager, to so many people that people don't know that are out there, and new leaders that have yet to step up, who haven't heard the call yet, but they will. Anita's right there at a time when the industry, and especially the union, you know, they wanted facts. It wasn't enough to just ask for more access and inclusion and accuracy for performance with disabilities. It was like they wanted facts. Anita turned around and she created her scorecard, and she started monitoring images on TV and how
Yeah.
often did you appear? Did you appear at all and stuff? And every year she would single-handedly create the scorecard that was used at the negotiating table and at the union boardrooms and stuff. And that was her work. And so that and
And
just the things that she and I would be up to during convention when they wanted to make sure that it was brief and to the point. And I'm like, hey, you've got a stage. I'll be responsible, but Anita, go out there. Speak truth to power.
oh God, I remember when you said, you know what, you should just go ahead and do it. I was like,
Absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely.
May I say something as one of the more recent employees of the, just employees and working with you, Anita, that a lot of what you did really at times was not fully appreciated. And I recognize that. So, and the same goes for you, Ray. Ray, what you did for years and years and years was not fully appreciated. And I know you know, I'm your sister from another mister, and I get to rub, you know, pick at you and poke you and all that. But I also want to recognize that your work has been such an invaluable contribution to not just the disability community and the LGBTQ community, but the minority community, the community of women who are trying to make a difference, and even like every disenfranchised group you had your fingerprint on in terms of advancement. And I did not appreciate that until you left. And you know, we were left with people who did not truly fully understand or care to understand, and definitely not appreciate. So I've always loved you to like the most profound level, and part of that love is because of my admiration for you as an advocate for those who don't have voices. And so I recognize that, I appreciate that, and you are just so amazing as a professional, as an individual, and as my brother from another mother.
Thank you.
You set the bar, Ray. You set the bar. You set it very high. I remember the day I met you that Robert Duvall introduced me to you in the after offices in New York. And I looked at this like incredibly handsome man, you know, that was like, I get to work with this guy. And just even that first conversation, it really just lifted me up, and I was so hopeful, and I wanted to work with you so much. So, and you set a bar that people, not everybody can get to. So you have to understand that everything I did after you, everything that was carrying on what you had set. And when you had like the events that you sponsored, like at Baruch here in New York and stuff, they were huge events. And I knew what you went through to make them happen. And we were able to, the whole disability and technology, and we did the stuff with Daryl Chill Mitchell. We did those scenes. People were just blown away by it. And I was so proud of being part of it and loving it. And I have missed you so much, but we have kept the work going the way you set that bar. And Kitty, who we see now,
Really?
Here,
Not
I have a
really.
hard
yanked
time
me
getting
into
on.
it.
Sorry, I have a hard time getting in.
No, well, you're here now. That's what.
I'm here now,
I am blown
Ray.
away. Kitty.
and I'm still here. I'm still alive. I'm thrilled to still be here and working.
Kitty is, well, I mentioned her name. And
Yes, you did.
back in the days when we were doing EEO conferences, and we had, the last one was the biggest one. And I think it was in 1993, the Tri-Union full diversity conference in Washington, D.C., where the Annenberg report came out at that. Just was devastating in its information, but accurate in terms of people with disabilities, images, because it primarily focused on women and minorities in the media, news, entertainment, primetime, soap operas and stuff. But it did include people with disabilities, and they would include, he held up the mirror. I mean, what he found, especially in soap operas, was that people with disabilities were often, you know, the mentally ill or the really slow suicidal ones. I mean, it was really, really negative stuff, but this was back in the 80s. He did 10 years, and Kitty was there. And Kitty was there throughout the years. And then I was blessed when I moved to New York and to be in the same city with her, and then to see her other passion, her dancing and her theater company and her dance company. You know, you are one of those people that I am blessed to have worked with, Kitty. You
And
me,
ditto
Elva,
right back
and the
at
others.
you.
Oh,
Right back at you.
we were small but fierce.
I
We
learned
really were.
Ray, I learned a lot from you.
Well, back at you.
I really had to learn on the job, you know, and through my contacts with the union and the labor law that I was doing, I went to law school, and it was immensely helpful. It's a wonderful education. But then I got so sick, and I was really afraid I wasn't going to be here much longer, but I'm still here.
Oh,
I'm still here.
yay. Yay.
I'm going to be 71 in August.
Yay.
Happy birthday.
So if I may, Kitty, it's 70 wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
I like that.
Thank you. I'm never concerned about sharing my age, because there was a time, and Ray, you were privileged to that I didn't think I would make it through that year, you know? And so every year I'm very grateful to still be here and working and teaching and doing all of these things on. Now I teach dance classes on Zoom. That's hard.
That's awesome.
That's hard to teach dance on Zoom, but it's what we have. It's what we have to work with, you know?
Right.
But back when we were just struggling to find a place for disability to be included,
Yeah. It's, you know, I mentioned, David, when in 1999, when we created the department, And I remember that national board meeting, and we decided, Belva, Kitty, myself, whoever, I think Leslie Shreve for the women's committee.
Mhm.
It was, we all decided, if not now, when? We
Mm.
have to ask. You
Exactly.
don't get it if you don't ask for it. And we were strategic. We wrote the resolution. We parsed it out to the chairs of all 4 committees. We held that microphone, and then we passed it. And when we introduced the resolution, everybody started applauding. And because it was and when it, and not because we presented it, but because everybody knew it was the right time. For years, Kitty and Belva and myself and others would report on the work that members were doing in addition to their career, and staff were doing in addition to their work and job. And finally, we got what we did, and of course, then the work begins. But
Well, I
Kitty was
see.
right there.
I see all of you and the other names that you have mentioned, and it's really like everybody has their strength and their position, and it's about working together and making it better for everyone. It's puzzle pieces, and how important each and every one of us are in getting that goal.
But Ray, do you remember we had negotiations and we were at the hotel on Lexington Avenue?
Yep.
I forget, maybe it was a Marriott.
It was the Summit. People used to call it the Slummit on 51st and
It
Washington.
was
I'm
the
sure
Slummit.
it's a better
It
hotel
really
now.
was the Slummit. And there wasn't an accessible bathroom.
Yeah.
And Stephen made a big issue. And so they went out, Anita, you'll find this hilarious. They went out and bought a toilet seat with handles, but it wasn't attached to anything. So I wore diapers.
Oh, God.
I
Oh, my.
wore diapers. And at the end of that, I remember I just was moved to tears because what I said, because those inclusions for performers with disabilities in those early contracts, it was hard going. It was very hard going. And there was a lot of resistance. And I remember thinking to myself, and I said it out loud, I'm so happy that we can now go where everyone else is in this union.
Yeah. But even then, I mean, you'll know this, but both you and Anita and others will know that even back then, even though we had the Americans with Disabilities Act, there had been successful chipping away by the federal courts and even the Supreme Court, to the point that legislators had to write the ADA Amendments Act to restore everything that had been chipped away. But that didn't come till 2008. Prior to that, there was the law, but try enforcing the law. It was really on the side of employers by then, and people who just would say, well, we can't really afford the accessibility.
We can't do it now. We'll do it later.
Yeah, or we'll set aside this little room for your audition or something.
There was this emergency. They flew me out to California because we were negotiating with the producers out there, and they were very, very resistant, but I had already gotten paragraph 97 into the after book.
Yep.
So at least I had that, but I had no sleep. I had no prep. I went in with what I had and I got it passed. I shamed them. I'm not above using guilt or shame or whatever I have to do, but they weren't open to it at all. They resisted at every step of the way.
Yeah. Well, with your determination, and then years later with Anita picking up the ball, charming people at the negotiating table, especially the people.
We don't
from
take no
CBS.
for an answer, do we, Anita?
I'm the Velvet Hammer. The Velvet Hammer was created because Ray opened the door for me. Because, Kitty, you yanked me in there and said, you have to do this. And then I was like, I was doing it. And then in 2010, I remember being with the AMPT PR negotiations, TV theatrical. And I remember being with Ray in a side room, talking to Variety and the all of the news. I'm pretty sure that was that was, you worked so hard for us, Ray, that you got us in the room and we got the task force and Consuelo, you and Consuelo in conventions always made sure there was a diversity thing that included everybody. And I mean, there's just too much to say in the short time we have right now, but Consuelo, you wanted to talk.
I wanted to just say that there was the work that Ray and I did, and I followed Ray's lead in a lot of those things. And because he was a national director and I was a local director, he was very, very instrumental and crucial to facilitating a lot of the work that we did, whether it was a convention or at different locals throughout the country. It didn't matter. It was really because of his belief and his commitment in the work that we were doing, that I was able to follow his lead and be able to do the work that I was able to do during the after. It was very, very easy to do. It was not as easy after he left. It really
It
wasn't.
really wasn't, Ray. It really, truly
And
wasn't.
I want to just you know, focus on one of the most important meetings that the unions could have was with the AMPTP. Every 2 years we would have these meetings, and Anita, the last time we had the meeting that I was part of, it was such a challenge. It was such a challenge. And I think you remember that. And part of that is because the commitment and the belief wasn't there.
No,
And it was really a struggle. I was going uphill with rocks being thrown at me.
I can totally relate, Consuelo, totally relate to that.
the mountain.
I
Yes.
remember sitting in the SAG boardroom. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it.
Kitty, I just want to say, it's not to disparage the union that exists now. It's
No.
to recognize that the commitment level changed drastically after Ray left.
Right. But even so, I sat in that SAG boardroom and we're trying to get some of the language from AFTRA into the SAG contracts. And the SAG board was totally against it. And I let them throw rocks at me for 3 hours. I felt like Karen Silkwood, and I said that. And I said that out loud. Are you done yet? Have you thrown enough rocks at me? Because I'm still here and I'm not giving up. And we got the friggin' language into the contract.
Yeah, I mean, really the lesson there, because it's like Consuelo and I are speaking as staff. Anita and Kitty are speaking on behalf of themselves as members and others who were in the fight. You know, I was kind of like in a different kind of position because I went to staff as a member.
Yeah.
They couldn't talk to me in the same way that they
It
did.
makes all the
It
difference
made
in
all
the
the
world.
difference. You know, the challenge for me was, and I heard it from one person a year later, they said, well, you know, we thought that you'd be, there was somebody in the New York office, we thought that you'd be more like a member and staff, but yeah, you're one of us. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, my inner voice is like, no, you use the tools that you have. I know how to advocate on behalf of the members because I was one of them and I am still on their side. And so my job, as Kitty and Anita know, especially Anita at conventions, is to advocate on their behalf,
Yes.
to take the rocks for them, to set the table so then I can stand back and they as members could step forward. And I would say, because I know that a lot of people watch these webinars, David, then I hope if there are students and union members out there, don't ever forget, and I don't mean this to bash any union, it's just the concept of unionism. You are the union.
Absolutely.
If you don't like something, get active, find allies, change things. Just because it's your union doesn't mean that they're going to say yes to everything, because Anita and Kitty and I, Consuelo from the staff side, and so many others, you know, that fought the fight, especially in the early days, know that it is an uphill challenge, and it still is.
And
It's
this is
not
Persistence.
So it is, and find allies. If it gets too tough for yourself, find allies.
And that was one of the things that I kept telling members is that please use your voice. Please use your voice. Find the staff that works with you. And if they don't work with you, then use your voice to find staff that does work with you. And, you know, it was very, very challenging for me as a staff person to see what could be done and wasn't done. And that was very, very heartbreaking for me.
Yeah.
And me, myself, and Ray will tell you, you know, Ray and I worked together on so many really incredible programs. And there was never something that we could not do. If members really wanted it and it was something that we knew was going to be valuable for our members, we pulled out all the stops. We didn't care how much time it took. We didn't care how many hours. We would do the work. And I cannot say the same when, you know, I cannot say the same after. And
It's really true. Anita, do you remember when I first got elected to the Equity Council, I wanted to bring performers with disabilities under the umbrella of non-traditional casting? I don't know if you were at that meeting, but one of the counselors, I won't mention his name, it was called the Committee for Racial Equality at that time. And this is what he felt comfortable saying in a committee meeting out loud: I will shove that wheelchair up her ass before I will let performers with disabilities be included in the umbrella.
What?
Yes, yes.
I did not know that story, Kitty. That wasn't the person who later became
Yes, yes.
that part I knew.
And
that
I went to
later
visit
became
him in the
disabled.
hospital. And I
Yeah,
went to
we
visit
know who
him in the
that is.
hospital.
No, but you need to hear, let Kitty tell you what happened when she went to
So
visit him, because
later,
it's
he
important.
was in a car accident.
Oh, he got into a car.
Wait, I didn't hear that part. What?
He was in a car accident. And I went to visit him in the hospital, and he became a member of my club. He too was sitting in my chair, and he wept. He asked for forgiveness, and of course I gave it to him. But sometimes people have to learn the hard way that there's room for all of us. His big fear, if performers with disabilities were included under the umbrella of non-traditional casting, that people, racial equality people, would be viewed as disabled, which made no sense whatsoever. But that time it failed. The motion failed, and they wanted me to bring it back. So by that time I was in law school and I was ready for them. I brought in examples of Brown versus the Board of Education. I brought in the 73 thing on equal protection and all of that. And they had to pass it. They had to let us in. I wasn't going to stop. I wasn't going to stop. But Ray, when I was lucky enough to do As the World Turns, I remember coming to the union rep and saying, there's no accessible bathroom for me at CVS. And I didn't want to make waves because I was only supposed to be on the show for one day. And I wound up being on for 10 years.
Very good for you.
So the union rep, she said, you don't say a word, let me do it. And they took care of it, and they made a bathroom for me.
Thank God.
They made a bathroom for me because when especially back then, when a PWD was given a recurring role in something, it was a big, big deal.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to complain because it would be just as easy to write me out as it was to write me in, you know?
This is for everybody. Do you see, or what changed? do you see us going in a positive direction? Do you see us changing? Have we changed? Have
And I'll
all this
just say,
work that has been done, I feel, has gotten it to a good level, but I know we need more. Yes, Anita.
okay, speaking from the Watchdog report,
Watchdog report.
we have tripled our employment on
Mhm.
TV and film in the past. No, sorry, TV and theater in the
Not
past
film.
3 years. Film is still lagging behind, but because of the Disability Film Challenge created by the remarkable Nick Novicki, that is about to change because, and Crip Camp being
Very
announced,
good film, yeah.
uh, Coda, a few of the films, Quiet Place, those are like inching us forward. But TV, if you look at my numbers each year since 2017, and particularly we had a meeting in December of 2014 with the AMPTP, and they had said, pilot season is yesterday. It was December 15th and they were going, we need to know this stuff yesterday. And they started to move. And it was that 2015 pilot season moved a little and then moved a little more and moved a little more. And now it's amazing if you watch TV now, and I'm not a big TV watcher, but my husband thankfully is. He'll say, honey, you got to see this. And it was just, I would say incrementally, but I think there's a bigger word for that, like
Wait,
more.
my cat is crying. I'll be right back.
Okay, it's really moved along, and this is a long time coming, and I really do feel that Ray had everything to do with this, even though sometimes things happen after you're not there, in the mix anymore, so people don't acknowledge and say, and Ray, you need to know that your name comes up a lot, because I will often say, okay, do you remember when Ray, blah, blah, because it's important to me that you're the credits. I mean, you and Kitty and Consuela, everybody right here
It takes a village.
And back in September of 2020, just last September, Consuela, you were in that meeting that we had where you were really fighting for us. And while everybody was saying, we just can't have meetings and the budget is, we've cut our staff in half, we can't. And Consuela was on this call with us and I had my list because my committee was saying, why aren't we meeting? Why aren't we doing these things? And thank you, Consuela, because I know Ellen works round the clock. I do know that. And stuff that, okay. But Consuela was right there saying, this needs to she was pushing for me. And it was very much, it was like for a second, it felt like back when we were working together and as a team, and that you wouldn't let us walk away from a meeting without feeling something was going to
Had been accomplished.
See, and at that point, Anita, what you don't know is behind the scenes, I knew that not only the Directors Guild, but the Writers Guild too, they were continuing to do their programming.
Yes.
Not even just the committee meetings.
No.
But programs.
I know. I did one of the Writers Guild programs. I did the reading with Ellen Rocker.
It just drove me insane because Ray and I had built this sort of standard that we would adhere to. And again, if it were not for Ray, I took the lead from him on the staff side, and I came in ready and willing anyway. But it was just really, really, it drove me nuts that we could not do what I felt we could do, or we wouldn't do what I felt we could do, because people were very, very easily dismissive of, well, no, we're in a period of moderation.
There was an excuse for everything.
Always
happened.
Always.
There were excuses why the AMPTP task force wasn't happening. It was like there's negotiations. There's always negotiations.
Anita, you were the velvet hammer I didn't even have velvet. I was a sledgehammer.
That's Christine who couldn't be here
No,
today.
and-
Christine
and-
says, Anita, you're the velvet hammer. I'm just a hammer.
But you know,
I want to also acknowledge that, yes, going back to what David asked, whether things are better, I also think that the Casting Society of America has really stepped up and really made it possible because they have invested time
Yes.
and effort, and they've even created a legend for vocabulary, much based on your work, Anita, and Christine Bruno's work. And again, I strongly, and I cannot emphasize it enough, I strongly believe that the leadership between Kitty, Anita, and Ray on the staff side, having given that level of importance within the staff part of the union, I think if it had not been for that, Ray really has, again, his fingerprints are all over everything that has come up. And I think what you said, I absolutely agree with you, Anita, that oftentimes we don't see the fruits of our labor until way later. And many times we will never be there to be acknowledged. So this is a great opportunity, David. Thank you so much for giving us this platform to acknowledge Ray for all of the work that he did prior to, and now a lot of what he did is actually bearing fruit. So thank you.
Well,
I
David,
have a-
if
Hey,
Oh, Ray, go ahead. Go
Yeah, I
ahead.
just want to add one thing, because one of the lessons, we learn, we kind of like, we pick up lint along the way
Yes.
of the journey of life, but hopefully that lint is this lesson and that lesson and this lesson. And one of the most important lessons that I learned, it was in the late 80s, one of our conferences in Washington, DC. And I was with Belva Davis and a couple of other people, and we went to Senator Barbara Boxer's office on the Hill when she was still in DC, because there was an opening in the Federal Communications Commission, 5 commissioners at any given time. One of them was an African American, the only person of color, and he was retiring, a Republican, but it didn't matter. And we went to her office because she was on that committee that would have a voice as to who a replacement would be. And we went to her and we presented the case of, like, it's important for the public that a person of color be nominated and placed on the FCC to give a voice to the community of people who want programming so they can see themselves on TV. And she goes, okay, who do you have for me? And we didn't have anybody. And what she said next was said in a very politic way. It wasn't like bashing us. It was just very smart and intuitive, but my ears flush just even thinking about this. She turned to us, she goes, let me share something with you. Never come to me posing a problem or a challenge without also presenting at least one solution. And that was one of those moments. I get goosebumps on my arms. That was one of
I'm
those
getting
moments
goosebumps right now thinking about it.
that is applicable in every aspect of our lives. But I took that with me in all the challenges of the unions, because sometimes the people that you are fighting on the way up the hill aren't only on the industry side. Sometimes they're on the people who are supposed to be
On the
advocating
union
for
side.
you too. And so it was so important in the work that we all did, whether it was at the negotiating table or at the committees or within our own unions. It's like, when there's a challenge or something, Consuelo is a perfect person for this. Any meeting she has, she goes, I can do it. What do you need? It's that thinking forward. Whether you can come up with a solution, whether your solution gets activated or not, it's the mentality, the energy, the forward thinking, leaning forward energy that you bring to a challenge that changes minds and hopefully will get you forward. And that's what we did a lot of and stuff. Kitty knows that. Anita knows
Ray,
that.
I
Everybody
gotta
knows
tell
that.
you, you supported and helped me negotiate through that paragraph 97 thing, which was more than what the ADA stipulated.
Yeah.
It was more than that. And we were able to get it through, and armed with that, It really helped me. And I couldn't have done it if you weren't right there with me every minute saying, this can happen. This can happen. You know your stuff. Get in there and tell them that they have to do it. Do not leave the room until it's done. And Anita, you know why I dragged you in? I dragged you in because I
I said that loving.
I had a brain tumor and they told me I had 3 months to live. And I didn't want the committee. I worked as long as I could. I didn't want the committee to go back to nothing, to go back to the beginning. Do you remember, I don't know if you were in the room, but there used to be only non-disabled people chairing the PWD committees. And so after I got elected to the Equity Council and became chair of the Performers with Disabilities Committee, I said in the very next meeting to Catherine Diamond, and I forget the man's name, he was very sweet. And they were saying, it has to be, they were talking about language, it has to be this and it has to be that. And I said, wait a minute, that's not how we feel about it. What do you know? It's not your lived experience. I thought Catherine Diamond was going to explode, but it was really true. We needed chairs who had a lived experience of the situation because it changed everything. It was no longer a concept. We understood the reality of it. And I didn't mean to minimize all the work that had gone before, but it was time for us to take control of our own committees and be voicing our own opinions about our lived experiences.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like I'm watching Crip Camp again. Because that's basically the message. Take control of the message. This is your lived experience.
What a
you can fight
wonderful,
for it.
wonderful film that was.
Oh,
I don't know, Anita, I've just met you for the first time, Kitty. So hi, I'm Consuelo. But Anita, I don't know if you or David, you know, I know that Ray knows, but my husband's brother has been institutionalized for a number of years. He is mentally and physically disabled, and every time we go to Texas, we see him. And that film, Crip Camp, really super resonated with us. It was such a remarkable voice for anyone in the disability community. So that was one of the reasons why I was so passionate about making sure that the voices that I was listening to were equally heard by not just me as staff, but by everyone else. And I always use and again, I think this I learned from Ray, but also it's a perfect quote that I eventually learned was also a tribute. Well, the quote was attributed to John Lewis, but the concept was you always, you get in good trouble. And I always got in good trouble. I always asked.
I always got in good trouble. The deaf community gave me the sign name of troublemaker,
No,
Yeah.
but I mean, it was, my good trouble was I always posed questions. Well, what do you think will happen when you use that language? Or how about, do you think that's a good idea? And I would never say, that's really stupid, or you're going to get, that's going to be very offensive. Do you think that might be offensive to this community? And then they would stop and think, oh, let me think about that. Oh, well, maybe it is. I never really did that. And I learned that it's a finesse, the little politic way of making sure everybody's voices were being heard and acknowledged by causing a stir. But I learned that from Ray, because Ray has always been. I remember the first time I met him, and I was working at Writers Guild, and he came to meet with my then boss, and I remember after he left, my then boss saying, oh, Ray is always, I don't understand why Ray always asks these questions, or why Ray doesn't want to work with us in the way that I think he should. And I'm thinking, like, I wonder what that means. Like, why is Ray this way? What is going on there? Because I knew my boss, but I did not know Ray. And then when I went to AFTRA, that's when I realized, oh, this is why he was asking those questions. This is why he was hesitant to just move forward without getting all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted. It wasn't just a lip service. He was very invested in the work that was being done.
And we felt that, Ray. We felt that. And sometimes, because believe me, especially when I started to get sick, Andrew would say, you don't have to do this anymore. You could just stop. It's not indentured servitude to the union. And I said, but I have to get it set up so that when I stop, it's going to continue. It's not going to stop and somebody else has to start from scratch. Because the way I got dragged into it, Madeline Sherwood brought me in at an equity meeting because I had gone to an open call after I got out of the hospital, and equity didn't have a bathroom, and I wet my pants, but I did my audition anyway with wet pants. And they could see that I had peed myself. And so I wrote a letter to Colleen Dewhurst that really something needed to be done, that there had to be an accessible bathroom. And the next thing I know, it was like a freight train. I was thrust into this whole thing. And it was on the job training. And nobody was thrilled that I was doing the work that I was doing, except the PWDs, of course. They thought I was a thorn in their side. But I didn't ever want to hear an actor say they had to wet their pants before an audition because there was no facility for them. And I saw them just staring at my wet pants through my audition, and I didn't care. I didn't care because I had to step up. I had to do something not only for enlightened self-interest, but it wasn't right. And when we first brought the proposal to the Equity Council, Colleen Dewhurst was against it. She said, this will never fly. There aren't enough of you.
They still said that 2 years ago.
I know. But Anita, if there's one, even if there's just one, we pay dues. And that's what I said. I said, you have your job. I'm sorry, because of the brain tumor, I don't always remember people's names. Ray, help me out here. John, his last name started with M. He was executive director.
John McGuire.
Yes, John McGuire. I went to his office because he was leading the charge about not doing it for SAG. And I went to his office and I told him the story about wetting my pants. And I said, you have your job because members pay their dues. We pay your salary. So for the next hour, you have to listen to what I'm saying. Otherwise, I'm going to the press and tell them that the executive director of the Screen Actors Guild doesn't care about the membership.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Anita. Go ahead.
Is it too corny that I actually have an appropriate song for the
I
occasion?
knew it.
Please.
I knew it.
Right?
Please.
I mean, that's kind of what.
Go, do.
I didn't know if it would be too awful, but as we have had this conversation, it's the words in this song, which was originally made dedicated to my dad.
Can, can I just really quickly, are you ready?
Of course, Constance.
Just go ahead.
Hey,
'cause-
Ray, I've been listening to these people tell wonderful stories about you. And I know that you have been such an advocate for so many. And I know that you have been a mentor for Consuelo, and we really appreciate you.
I love you, my friend. What a surprise.
Yay.
Oh, now, because I didn't want to interrupt or take away from your song, Anita, because
It's so great to see him doing well and healthy.
yes, thank you so much. But go ahead. And
So this was written for my dad, who literally died in 1975, but you'll understand why it applies to what we're saying today. Everything that Kitty said, and Ray, and Consuela, and David, I think you'll
And you.
I hope so. It's basically, we found something in my dad's drawer, desk drawer, when he died, that said, beyond the welfare of family and friends, the enhancement of the lives of others and those yet to come must be the real object of life. And so that's how
That's very true.
It's raining outside the window. I hope that's not messing up the sound, and you might hear traffic too. Who is my father to me? I'm looking back 45 years and I see a man in the wings I still see today, who gave others their wings and showed them how to fly. He said, beyond the welfare of family and friends, he said, beyond the welfare of family and friends, he said, beyond the welfare of family and friends, it is the work we do for those yet to come that really matters. How do you measure a man? Do you chart him by inches or size of a shoe? Or things he says or what he will do to make the world a better place for you and me? He said, beyond the welfare of family and friends, he said, beyond the welfare of family and friends, he said, beyond the welfare of family and friends, it is the work we do for those yet to come that lasts forever. Whether it's picnics or looking at art, music and laughter will stay in our hearts, sharing it all with our children to come, links us from one generation to another. So why are we gathered today? As we celebrate lives we have known in the past, building something we hope that will last, so that our music will ring out long after we are gone. Because beyond the welfare of family and friends, because beyond the welfare of family and friends, because beyond the welfare of family and friends, it is the work we do for those yet to come that really matters, that lasts forever. And the enhancement of those lives yet to come must be the real object of life.
break my heart, always.
It's so you, Ray. It is so you, really.
But you're right. It is about those who come after. I did what I could for 12 years. You're doing what you're doing. You did for however long you did it. Consuelo, you will do it for however long you do it. And then we leave it in others' hands.
You know, this reminds me of when I was in junior high around my bar mitzvah time. And we went to this park with the cantor and the rabbi, and we planted seeds because there weren't a lot of trees there. And the other week I drove by that park and it was full of trees.
Wonderful.
Perfect analogy.
Perfect. Perfect. And that's what I do with the dancing. Teaching, I teach the ones no one else will take.
That's right.
Nobody wants them. I'm doing another installation of the Women's Stories Project right now. I had everybody write the story they want to tell. And then William Catanzaro sets it to music.
Right.
And I choreograph a solo for each one because it'll fit in a Zoom window. And they're dancing the story as I narrate their story. Everybody has a story that needs to be heard. It needs to be told and it needs to be heard. And the ones that are the most difficult to do, the newer students who use wheelchairs feel that they don't have an interesting enough story. Send me an outline, I'll make an interesting story out of it. You know, because I'm not going to be here forever. Death comes to us all sooner or later. I hope it comes for me much later. But my experience in that time when they told me I only had 3 months to live, trying to tie up the threads so that no thread would drop. So that no thread would drop. And the work would continue and not have to start from scratch.
That's right.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me if it's in time for me. That's not why I did it. That's not why I did it.
Any last thoughts from everyone?
Well, I want to just, Kitty just reminded me because she said that, you know, and it was a riff off of your song, Anita, about what we do and how we want to give platforms to people whose voices. I want to acknowledge that Ray has been such a wonderful advocate for everyone, including myself. It doesn't matter that people are who they are. It doesn't matter. It's when Ray believes in someone, he believes in someone completely. And I want to share with Ray that acknowledgement transcends not just within the people that are here, but a couple of weeks ago, I had brunch with Kim Roberts Hedgepeth. Anita, I don't know if you know her, Kitty.
I do.
But she, you know, just spoke so highly of you, Ray, and it just absolutely adores you, as you know I do. We were in competition. But it was just really, really nice to hear that what I knew about you as a colleague was acknowledged by someone who was, for all intents and purposes, our superior, our, you know, our boss. And she just was very, very forthright in her acknowledgement of what an amazing person you are. And I will forever and a day be your sister from another mister, and you will forever in a day be my brother from another mother. And I cannot wait to hold you and hug you and give you a big kiss.
Ditto, ditto, ditto. I learned a lot from you, Ray Bradford. I really, truly did. And it stood me in good stead as I went on to my next career. We were all at the right moment in time.
Yeah.
Belva, you, me, Anita, we were all at the right moment in time. And we seized that moment. We certainly didn't get everything we asked for, but we got enough to get going with.
Mhm.
We got enough to grow on, and we put our marks on it. And they knew if I brought a proposal, it was well thought out and well planned out, and they were not going to leave the room. We would lock the doors. They would not be able to leave the room or go to the restroom until it got passed. Until it got passed. It was all worth it for me. It was totally worth it. Sometimes I was very annoyed. Sometimes I wondered why I was doing that, why I didn't stay in the convent when I was younger, which I thought was my real vocation. But God works in mysterious ways, and we are sent where we are needed most. And you, my friend, were needed very, very much.
I just want to thank all of you. What a tremendous surprise, all three of you. And there's so, I mean, you know, I just what I want to share, and I'll keep it brief. I want to share for to really the younger generation, people of performing arts studio, the people who are still on the front side of classes and dreams and things like that. My mentor, my second mom, Belva Davis, who all of you know on here, one of her favorite quotes that she has in her book that she shared with us is, never be afraid of the space between your dreams and reality. If you can dream it, you can be it. And
exactly.
So for all the students out there, no matter how big the hill is, if it's too hard to make a difference on yourself or even to know what that difference could be, reach out to somebody. There's always somebody in the pool looking for a life raft with you, you know? Just do it. The journey that we've been on, you know, sometimes it's like that song. I love Kenny Chesney, country western. He sings a song called "Don't Blink," and that's how I feel. It's like we're talking, especially Kitty, with you here. We're talking about work that we did in 1985,
Yes.
1986, 84. Some of the people who will watch this weren't even born yet,
Right.
you know, and sometimes it kind of surprises us that we're doing that we're talking about that, but it's also a very humbling thing. And it goes back to what you and I were talking about, David. How do you know when to trust that voice? You'll never have the advantage of hindsight, but you will feel the difference when spirit or higher consciousness or your intuition or whatever you want to call it is speaking to you, because you feel it in here. Everybody feels it differently, but you know when you feel it.